What do you write? What do you write?
Yeah, that's a great question. Why do I like what I like? The core driver of what I do is I do have an exit figure in my mind. When you realize that your needs are not a lot more and you can actually make do with that, that is when you put a stop to more needs.
Shouldn't people make mistakes about money?
I don't think anybody can be told about money. So anybody who says that money does not buy you happiness is lying. Instantly lying.
Do you think we need anti-fin influencers, anti-motivation coaches now?
The word that I would use is this is not me speaking or taking a political stand, but in this gold rush. It's the 1970s of the US that we are going to witness in India for the next 30 years.
ഈ മഹാരാജ്യത്തിലെ ഒരു ചെറിയ വിഭാഗം ജനങ്ങൾ മാത്രം സംസാരിക്കുന്നതാണ് എൻ്റെ ഭാഷ. പക്ഷേ ഞങ്ങളുടെ ഭാഷ സജീവമാണ്, ചലനാത്മകമാണ്.
Based on your experience, in some of the top 3 things, or any number of things that you want to share, to be successful in life, what do you require?
To be successful in life, what's worked for me is have a very strong sense of curiosity. Don't take things as they're given to you, but question with the genuine intent of figuring it out, not just refuting what the other side is saying. Number 2, consistency. You have to do things for a really long while for you to begin yielding results. And number 3, you're doing something which you don't have to drag your feet for every day. So you're authentic in what you're doing. It's natural to you to do whatever you're doing. When you combine these 3 things, you tend to put yourself in a more favorable spot to be successful. I'll still say that most of what the world sees as success for anybody else is not even decipherable by themselves, because there's a massive element of luck that nobody can predict. You were born in a certain family, you were born in a certain age, you were born in a certain company, you were born with a certain skin color, a certain faith, a certain name. All of these things, you don't even know how they impact you and your ultimate success. But all things equal, I feel that these 3 things of curiosity, consistency, and of course being authentic helps.
Our parents earned salaries, but they didn't make themselves like really rich or really wealthy. And given that a set of influencers are now sharing this knowledge about stock market, probably we'll get rich. And so my question is that the driving force, like the mass middle class in India? Do you want them to be rich and wealthy in their life? Is that the driving force behind what you do? In other words, what do you write? What do you write?
Yeah, that's a great question. Why do I like what I like? The core driver of what I do is to ensure that people make decisions in life from a point of awareness and not ignorance. What I mean by that is, there are a lot of decisions that people make in life, but we tend to make these life decisions out of ignorance. We don't know any better. This decision came our way, this option came our way, so we were like, okay, let's do it. But taking a decision from a point of awareness means you're aware of what you could do and you still end up doing what you are doing. And that to me is the difference between a deliberate life and a life which is just lived as if there is no method or madness to it. What's the outcome of it? Could be meaningful or meaningless. So do I want people to get rich? No. I want them to feel whatever they want to feel. So if they feel that money is the solution to their problems, they should feel that way. If they feel that money is not important, they shouldn't then strive towards money. But to even be aware of how you could live life with money or without money is an important point to reach, which at least I hope to do through my content.
When do you want to retire? And also, do you have an exit figure?
I do have an exit figure in my mind. So there's a video that I've made, which is how much money you need to live life. And that video through an Excel sheet actually shows that if you had to do all the things that you want to do in life, and when you want to do it, what is the money that you need today? That number for me is 21.7 crores. And I am almost there. Once I'm there, I know that I wouldn't have to work for money anymore. I don't work for money even now, because I know that in that 21.7 crores, there are a lot of things that I can do without. I've just put them there because I would want to. But if they don't happen to me, my life will still be just as good.
But what will you do if you're not making money, if you're not doing these videos?
The question is, what is this that's needed for you to be happy? And what is it that's desired for you to be happy? Very often when we go through this conversation of need versus desire, we realize that we don't need a lot, but we desire a lot more. So do I need a car in today's world? Yes. But do I need a fancy luxury EV? No. It's a desire that I have one, but I can very well do with a basic hatchback that takes me from point A to point B, is safe and is of course in some way economical so that my needs can be met financially as well. Do I need a phone? Yes. Do I need the iPhone Pro Max, whatever, of 1.5 lakh rupees? No. I can easily do that with a 8,000 rupee phone, maybe a 12,000 rupee phone, or 15,000 rupee phone. When you realize that your needs are not a lot more and you can actually make do with that, that is when you put a stop to more needs and you actually pick which of the desires is most important for you. So for me and my family, our desire to travel is the most important. It's not to buy a fancy car, not to buy a fancy house, not to buy fancy clothes, not to buy fancy phones, not to eat at fancy places, none of that. It's to travel, and if we can afford to travel, that is where we will put our excess money. But all of our needs are covered because they aren't a lot in the first place.
To follow up on that, shouldn't people make mistakes about money? Shouldn't people, if all of this becomes a science, do you think people will be made into machines? I'll give a thing about where the question comes from.
Sure.
For a person who is not privileged, buying a car, is desired to buy a car or have a home for his parents, that might be the thing that he desires. He may not have the means for it, but he'll struggle to have it.
Yeah.
But that's the one thing that will give him pleasure.
Yeah.
Isn't it what money is ultimately about?
Absolutely. So the way that I think about this is, I don't think anybody can be told about money. We will all experience it ourselves. What we can be told is what are the potential mistakes you can make with money so that you make less of them. Not that you don't make any of them. Impossible. So, Psychology of Money, which is a great book on money, Morgan Housel beautifully says that the trick to getting rich is not to make a lot of good moves. The trick to getting rich is to make less mistakes. That's it. So Warren Buffett is Warren Buffett because he's made less mistakes, and anybody else that you would want to pick and fancy. And that is the conversation around money. So you will end up making mistakes. You will end up learning that maybe that car didn't actually make me happy, or it actually did make me a lot happy. And all of those will be realizations for your own self. But if you can avoid mistakes, then you will only end up making a few ones that will be personal to you.
One question to that is, how to get things that money can't buy. Love, for example. Any thoughts about that? It's a hypothetical question, I know, but I thought it'll be fun to have your view on it.
So there is this entire, in the book Make Epic Money, there's an entire section of things that money can buy. And I love that section because it is a very honest take on how important money really is. Money can buy you health. Because to eat good quality food, organic food, have a fitness trainer, go to a good gym, not eat cheap junk food, requires money. Money can buy you safety, to live in a good colony, to live in a gated society, to have security and whatnot. Money can buy you experiences, learning, to have a good tutor or a good teacher, to travel, to experience, to go to a music concert, to hear someone live, come to a place where you can hobnob with the brightest minds. Money buys you a lot of things that give you happiness ultimately. So anybody who says that money does not buy you happiness is lying. Instantly lying. Either they have a lot of money or they don't have any of money, and that's why they're making that statement. But anybody who has money and knows how to use it for the things that give happiness knows that money does buy happiness.
I don't have anything against Fin influencers, but do you think we need anti-Fin influencers now? In the sense, people who would quote John Lennon, or people who would, thinks time you wasted is not really wasted, or people who would quote Bertrand Russell, in praise of idleness. Do you think we need anti-fin influencers, anti-motivation coaches now?
The word that I would use is a healthy opposition, because we are a democracy. We have truly benefited or not benefited from a democratic system whenever there has been a strong opposition or a weak one. And I believe that opposition always makes the conversation richer and the outcome finer. Whether it's startups, whether it's influencers, whether it's politics, any place else, doesn't matter who's in majority. If you don't have a good opposition who is questioning, debating, deliberating, you will always have chaos and anarchy. And as long as there is competition, you will always progress. So I'm up for that.
Making money is also about, it's dependent on the larger political and social forces around you.
Yeah.
You need jobs. You need actually more jobs every day. And India is pathetic when it comes to that. Jobs are not going to the people. People are moving to jobs.
Yeah.
Like this stage, for example, was built by an Odisha guy who traveled 2,000 kilometers and came to Kerala. In other words, when will Ankur Warikoo talk about these things? Or in other words, when will Ankur Warikoo talk about loud politics?
So there are two sides to this. One is making money and one is investing money. Making money, you're absolutely right, can be a struggle, because if jobs are not there, then where is the source of that income coming through as well? What has at least happened in the last 3 years, and I have been a direct recipient of that, is if you have the will and the inclination, you certainly have the access, the world becomes your playground. If you're looking for a traditional job, it may not be there. But if you're okay imagining yourself as a freelancer working remotely for the entire world, you suddenly have a very different opportunity set. And I live amongst people and work with people who play that life every single day. They're like, no, I'm not going to go to an IT company. No, I'm not going to become a software engineer. No, I'm not going to become a sales and marketing executive, because I don't know what that world is and I don't want to fall prey to the economic ups and downs and so on. I'm going to sit in India, make in India, but make for the entire world. Whether it's code, whether it's design, whether it's music, whether it's books, whether it's anything else. And they can make it happen. And that's the same way that I would encourage the world to see. If you're in your 20s, making money is no longer about joining a 9-to-5 and getting a traditional job. While it can be so and it should be so for a lot of us, it is also a lot more about you thinking of yourself as a remote worker, a gig worker, and somebody who is catering to the entire world based out of any location that you are in. And if that's the case, then my bet, irrespective of who's ruling the country and managing it, we are sitting on the youngest demographic set that the world has to offer, on skill sets and access that are unprecedented in terms of internet cost, in terms of technology, hardware cost, software cost, in terms of a world that does not have access to this kind of supply in as much volume as India can offer. And I genuinely believe, this is not me speaking or taking a political stand, but genuinely believing so, the next 20-30 years, irrespective of who is in the majority, this country is going to see the golden period of the last 200 plus years that it has ever seen. And you'll have to be a duffer not to make money in this gold rush. It's the 1970s of the US that we are going to witness in India for the next 30 years.
So will you be doing two episodes on Indian economy every week going ahead?
100%. So because I'm not an expert, I don't cover that, but you bet on the stock market, you're betting on the Indian companies, not the Indian economy, because the Indian companies are becoming global. They're being driven both by domestic and international demand. The world is recognizing that India is a massive market. There's massive influx coming in. And what's interesting is that a large part of the growth, at least in the last 2 years, has not come in from FIIs. It has come from domestic retailers. And that is very heartening, because that believes that there are enough and more people believing in this journey.